Hello, welcome to Exclam Chess. And in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at a game that was sent to me on chess.com. And our player that sent the game in was playing as the black pieces, so that's why I have the board flipped around here. And so let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, e4, e5, bishop to c4, bishop's opening, knight to f6. The one good thing about bishop's opening is sometimes there's some traps that black can fall into if he gets careless, say just bishop to e7, then queen to h5, and already white will be attacking two things, and that'll be pretty good for white right at the opening. So good thing he avoided that, just playing normally. Okay, d3, bishop c5, knight to f3, d6, bishop g5, bishop g4. Okay, so both sides have just developed their pieces, just starting off very normal. Knight c3. So right here, white plays knight c3, and this move's perfectly normal, just developing a knight. Nothing wrong with that. One thing though, with the center closed like the center we have here, sometimes you can take your time a little bit more and focus more on strategic ideas. And so maybe something like c3 with the idea of b4 would have been a good idea, and that way you're trying to gain space in the center. And let me once again say, nothing wrong with knight c3, according to me and my chess engine I have running. But that's just something that I probably would have done. Okay, knight c3, c6, a3, and b5. Now, at first, when I first looked at this move, I thought that it would be a good move because it gains space on the queen side, and expands on the wing, which is something you want to do when the center is closed, and also that it comes with tempo because it hits the white bishop. But then I noticed this move, bishop takes f6, that white could have played. This isn't what white played in the game, but black kinda has to damage his kingside pawn structure by playing with the g-pawn taking on f6. Because if, say, he takes with the queen, let's just go through a variation here, then knight takes, pawn captures, and then bishop to d5, and this rook's trapped here on a8. And so if we go back, that means that the g-pawn would have to recapture, and then this kingside pawn structure is kind of damaged. And meanwhile, white still has options and will be able to choose between either going kingside or queenside castling. So it kind of reduces black's king's options. Okay, so now let's get back to the game. In the actual game, after b5, white played bishop to a2. Okay, queen to b6, eyeing f2, castling kingside, knight b to d7, h3, and after h3, here I would have captured the knight on f3. Because after a move like played in the game, h5, bishop to h5, white could immediately play g4, and after pushing his pawn to g4, then the bishop would wind up on g6, and it would be a little bit passive here. And if this position is reached, then this actually kind of reminds me of a game by one of the world chess champions, Capablanca. He was playing against a guy named Winter, and he got the similar structure like this, and the player Winter, with the bad bishop, lost to Capablanca because he was able to exploit that one bad piece, and Capablanca had a pretty good time with that game, and a pretty good win. So that's why it's important to watch the World Champions games and take a look at them, and then you can kind of remember some of the things they do. Okay, in the actual game, queen to e2 was played, h6, bishop h4, and here, for white, I'd be concerned about that same idea of this pawn moving up to g5, and then after something like that, the bishop getting blocked in. And again, the similar thing could happen. Didn't actually happen in the game. In the actual game, black just went ahead and castled. Very practical. g4, bishop g6, and then now we wind up with a bishop on g6, and it's kind of blocked in a little bit here. And for that reason of that game I mentioned earlier with Capablanca and Winter, I call a bishop like this the Winter bishop. You may have heard of the Winter soldier. Well, this is a Winter bishop. At least that's what I call it. Bishop g3, queen c7, knight h4, bishop h7. Here I may have thought about the idea of king to h8, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, because with that, maybe if he takes, then you could 3-open the sign. Of course, that is reliant on him taking the bishop. So, I don't know. That might be a move, maybe to take a look at. Maybe in a future analysis. Anyways, bishop to h7. King h2, a5, just gaining space. And knight to f5. And right here, I actually probably would have just gone ahead and taken that knight, because this bishop on h7 really isn't very active. And meanwhile, this knight on f5 is very well placed. So I would have probably just gone right ahead and captured it immediately. Okay. b4. And then white captures. Here, that's not the best move that white could make. Maybe, I think it was knight to a4 will be better, because we'll see what happens in a moment after capturing and capturing back. Whoops. Go back one. After capturing back. Then knight to d1. And right here, b3 is played. I like that idea of entombing the bishop, but what you could do immediately is just rook to a7 with the idea of doubling rooks on the a file, and then attacking this bishop since it's pinned. And eventually this bishop would be captured. Anyways, b3. And after c takes on b3, this bishop's pretty poorly placed right here. Not really contributing. Alright, now bishop takes f5, getting rid of that knight. E takes f5, rook a7, knight c3, rook f to a8. Now we got these doubled rooks. Knight a4, bishop d4, rook f to c1, knight b6, queen f3, knight d5. Right here, I probably would just go ahead and capture that knight, because I wouldn't be scared of this rook coming down due to queen to b7, and then this rook is pinned to the queen, since the queen would be hanging if this rook moves. And then if he captures back the knight, then I just win a pawn. So back to the actual game. Okay, knight b2 d5. Now, rook c4, bishop takes b2, capturing a pawn, and then capturing that bishop, rook takes a2, rook takes a2, knight a4, rook a3, d4, e4, queen d1, e3, and this pawn can't be captured due to this knight fork that could happen. So instead, queen to c2 is played, queen e7, rook takes e6, e2, this pawn's getting close to turning into a queen, bishop takes e6, and knight takes g4. So king g3 is played in the game because h takes g4 doesn't work due to queen h4 check, and then after king g2 you can just go ahead and promote this pawn. You could also underpromote due to the fact that you're forking the king and queen. Or you could go ahead with the queen anyways. But anyways, back to the game. King g3 was played instead. Queen e3 check. Okay, so why not f takes e3? Okay, so if f takes e3, then e1 queen check. And then after e1 queen check, then if white plays king takes g4, then black can just go ahead and play knight takes on e3 check and would fork the king and queen. And that, by the way, is the best that white can hope for out of that variation. Now back to the regular game. Okay, so then king takes g4 was played actually in the game. Queen g5 check. Right here there was actually a checkmate in 2, so you need to always be watching out for your tactics. And then the white king is checkmated. Okay, in the actual game, queen to g5 check, king to f3, and then here we see a nice under promotion. Under promoting with check to fork the king and queen. And that's pretty cool. I'm going to get some commendation on that one. e2, knight takes e2. And then right here, black is just up a queen, so I'm going to go through these next few moves quickly so that we can get to the final position. And then queen to d3 is checkmate. Okay, so what do we learn from this game? One thing is when deciding to trade or not, you need to think about the long-term effect of it. And that can be difficult in a game. But in the game, there was a choice of trading the bishop for the knight. And when the bishop retreated, then for a long time that bishop wound up passive on h7. And so it would have been better to trade that bishop for the knight. And then you wouldn't have wound up with a passive piece. And in addition, that bishop wound up trading itself for the knight anyways in the end. And so that would be something to work on. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.